Why, hello and welcome to the 18th Century Book Club. So I'm here with a new piece, and I told you it would be a very short piece, so I'm here more quickly than I would otherwise have been. But I'm here with a new piece, and that is Jonathan Swift's darkest of dark satires, A Modest Proposal. But before we get to A Modest Proposal, remember there is our shop if you would like to support us. We have books, we have writing services. We also have our Redbubble shop if you would like to get designs on t-shirts or mugs or stickers or you name it. There are tons of things. There's over 100 designs in the shop. So you are sure to find something. Please, if you like this video, please subscribe. If you enjoy this content, share it with your friends, leave a comment. I love reading comments from people, unless they're rude, in which case, you know, yes, well, that happens sometimes. We let Her Infernal Majesty deal with them. As you can imagine, she's pretty harsh. But there you go. That's that part out of the way. So, A Modest Proposal by Jonathan Swift. Now, this is not this is major works of Swift, because A Modest Proposal, it was a pamphlet published in 1729, and it is a modest proposal in relation to the Irish problem. So, Ireland is, and actually technically still is, part of an English colony. Especially in this period, Ireland is the oldest English colony. You want to know why the English were so good at being colonizers? Because they practiced a lot on the Irish. They had centuries, absolute centuries of practice before they went out into the wider world and practiced that colonial endeavor on mostly brown and black peoples. So England is an old colonizing force, and they learnt how hard you can push a populace and how much give you have to give on the Irish. So Ireland has, in 1729, been centuries under English control. It has had English-backed Protestant landholders put in to help suppress the Catholic Irish people, because the Irish resent this and do have a tendency to side with England's enemies based across religious grounds. So the Irish will side with the French and will seek French backing. It's no coincidence, really, that Ireland is still part of the EU after Brexit, and that English did not really think of Ireland and the border between their little remaindered power base and the rest of Ireland when they voted for Brexit. This is the giant blind spot that the English have around the Irish. Now, Swift is Irish. He's a Protestant. He's Protestant Irish. He is a clergyman, and like other educated, prominent Irish people, he is seeing what is happening in his country, and he is not happy about it. And Swift is not the great humanitarian, the great tears and hugs. He's pretty misanthropic on the whole. So when you get a pretty misanthropic person saying, you know what, this situation, it's garbage, what you are doing is garbage. You know that you've got a problem. So this is the world that this text comes out of. It is a burning political satire. It is a really violent attack on the poverty, the destitution, just the heavy hand of colonial forces on the Irish people, the utter destitution of the majority of the Irish population by the landlord class, who are on the whole absent and who are perfectly willing to sell off their people to the American colonies so that they can use the land for grazing land instead of having to grow food on it that would support the populace, and that grazing land requires a lot less labor, so you have a lot of people who are unemployed. You also have a situation wherein goods are bought into Ireland from England, not things that could very easily have been made. So the Irish economy in and of itself is highly, highly stagnant, and large numbers of people are destitute. This is a story that will repeat across Ireland. I mean, the 19th century has the potato famine. So they're not learning much here. They're not learning much. And they're not learning it quickly. Or they are learning things and they're implementing it overseas, further overseas. So what they're learning are bad things, and the level of care for the people of Ireland at this time is pretty much zero. They are a nuisance to the people in charge. So what does Jonathan Swift do? Jonathan Swift publishes anonymously this pamphlet called A Modest Proposal. Now, I find 18th century publishing somewhat interesting, and it's part of the reason why I have a micro press, because my press is through technology, much the same way their presses were through technology, but through digital technology. I am able to have a very small press which can put out small runs of things, small numbers of books that can scale up to large numbers of books, but I can do it on a book that is not going to make the sort of numbers that big publishers need. These 18th century presses are underground. The presses are often related to booksellers, so the selling and the printing of books is very much enmeshed. And you also have the ability to print anonymously lots of these little pamphlets. There is a huge appetite for pamphlets. People print all sorts of things, especially scandalously and especially anonymously. The press can be anonymous too, because you don't always want to be caught being the person behind some of these scandalous and dangerous things that are being said. So this is this world. Presses did get broken up. Presses did come under the ire of the crown. So it was sketchy, dangerous work at times. But this is the world that Swift puts his proposal into. How does this proposal work? Well, the Modest Proposal starts out very much a regular sort of pamphlet. It is outlining a problem, the problem being the large numbers of beggars in Ireland, many of whom are female, many of whom have multiple children, thus increasing the population. but also there is no work for these people. Now, the anonymous proposer of this talks about, well, what are potential uses of this surplus population? Well, you can't sell them off to the Americas until they're about 12 or 14 because they're no use until then. It takes until 6 for a child to become an effective thief, so no use there. And by that point, the cost of bringing up a child, especially to the 12 or 14 where you could ship them off to the Americas, the cost of bringing up that child is well in excess of the price that you would receive for them. You can't tax these people any further because they have no land, they have no income. That's already been swallowed up. That these are people who are suffering under the weight of the extraction of money out of the Irish economy by the landlords. So these are people with nothing. So here is the proposal. Given that there are X number, I think he falls under somewhere around 200,000 or just under 200,000 female people in this destitute class, of whom X number are going to be outside of fertility range. Certain numbers are going to be infertile. So let's say 100,000. There are going to be 100,000 breeders. The language shifts. These are not people. These become breeders. Livestock. Okay? Also, the word female instead of woman is also bringing it into a livestock. You don't call... one of my pet peeves, in fact, it's more than a pet peeve, I find it utterly repugnant, is the use of the word female, saying that female, when what you mean is woman. It's taking an adult human, a female adult human, and reducing her to an animal. I hate that. I mean, properly, she's a lady, or a woman, or if of the right age, a girl, but female is not a word that should be used in connection with an adult of the female sex. Do not do that. It's disgusting. But we start getting the words female, we start getting the words breeder. We are starting to talk about livestock. So here we have 100,000 breeders. What can they produce? Children, babies in particular. That apparently, according to some statistics, a woman gives birth every 2.5 years. Now, this would be an exponential growth. See, you don't need to worry about the old. They're dying out anyway. The young who can't find work are dying anyway. So really the problem is you've got to get rid of the children. That's the issue. There seems to be just this mass replicating of population. So given that, why not eat them? That a 1-year-old child that can be brought up at the mother's expense for pregnancy and the year of first year of life is entirely dependent on a mother and the mother's milk, and therefore the mother and baby can be sustained for 2 shillings. That said 1-year-old, 1 yearling, because we're using the language of livestock now, a yearling child could get 10 shillings, which would make make money for the people, which would give you something to tax, and it would provide a rare delicacy for the tables of the upper strata, especially as this is a resource that is self-maintaining. You would only need one male for every 4 females, which is, the proposal suggests, is fairly generous and far more than we have for livestock. So you would retain, obviously, more female children to grow into breeders than male children. So male children are going to be primarily the stock of this. You're going to have a glut around at certain points of the year, because these people, being papists, are going to generally have larger numbers of children after Lent. So 9 months after Lent, because of all the abstaining during Lent. So you will have a glut at certain points of the year, which would be beneficial at times. It is just awful. And he puts all this out in very, very rational terms. Now, there is the suggestion that, but what about younger, or young people, so 12, 14, well, 12 or 14-year-old males can be shipped off to the colonies. 14-year-old females are therefore new breeders. Because this was suggested as the fact that deer had been in decline, and therefore venison was not so plentiful. But according to the proposer, a 14-year-old is too gamey and too overworked. Much better to send them to the colonies. According to, and a yearling baby is a yearling. We don't use the word baby. We don't use the word baby because that would be humanizing far too much. A yearling is going to be much tenderer, and he has this on assurance from an acquaintance in the Americas, in America. So by the end of the document, he finishes out by saying, well, you know, if you think my proposal is so terrible, what are the alternatives? Taxing absentee landlords and putting, not allowing importation of goods which could be made in Ireland itself. These are all too hard. All the logical things. These are all too hard. My proposal is efficient. It is effective. It is providing money. It's a wonderful, wonderful proposal. And before you think, he adds this at the very end, before you think I am suggesting this because I wish to profit on it, my eldest child is 9 years old and my wife is past childbearing age. So this is this incredibly dark text. Reading it, and I had never read this. This is a text that was new to me. I knew it. I knew A Modest Proposal is the one about eating Irish babies. But I had never read it. And one of the things that struck me, and I think that is quite revolutionary in terms of the way that he is writing. Now, Jeremy Bentham is a way off. Jeremy Bentham is only about 6 at this point. Adam Smith is a way off in terms of their theories, which would give you utilitarianism and the critique of capitalism. But you are in a world where statistics and reducing human beings to numbers on paper is starting to become more prevalent. People are using statistics to dehumanize populations. And this is something that we are used to. We are so used to. We talk about employment statistics. We talk about unemployment statistics. We talk about statistical numbers of people who die in a natural disaster. We talk about collateral damage in war. What is the statistical allowances? We talk about statistics. We've reduced human beings to numbers all the time. We are constantly doing that in this modern world. It is a really, really dangerous thing that we do. When we talk in economic terms or in statistical terms, we reduce human beings. Every one of those unemployed are human beings. When we drop the word people off the end and we say 5 point whatever is percentages unemployed, that is a large number of people who are not able to be employed, for instance. They are human beings. They have to meet the cost of living. They don't disappear just into numbers, but we make them disappear into numbers. We forget them. We pretend that they're not people. We pretend that they're numbers. And then it's all about getting the numbers down. And we talk about these things very, very casually, very easily in our modern society. And it is bad. It's a terrible way to talk about people. They're human beings. And this language is very, very new when Swift is using it. He is using the language of statistics, which is starting to dehumanize people. Now, remember, this is a period before the sentimental novel comes in. This is a period before the idea that you put yourself into somebody else's place. This is very, very early. We have very early capitalism combined with very early statistics. And Swift puts both of those together to create his modest proposal. He reduces humanity and the humanity of the Irish and the suffering of the Irish down to a statistic, down to a number, and then relates it to money. How much money does this cost? How much money can this bring? Notwithstanding the fact that we are talking about human lives that have inherent dignity just based on the fact that they are human lives. This is something that is becoming part of our consciousness as a people in Europe at this point. Previous to this, there's the mob. You hear Romans talk about the mob. You don't hear them talking in rational statistics, this rationalization of people. Yes, the mob is always the peasantry, the whatever you want to call them. They're always a problem. They're always that. But those words don't have the same power to dehumanize as statistics do. Nor does the use of language that removes people from their humanity. Female, breeder, these words, yearling, they remove the humanity from what would be the victims of this proposal. It's the dehumanizing and the devaluing of lives that are not economically advantageous. We do this now. We do this now. We talk about people's lives in economic terms. We talk about whether or not they are economically valuable, and we make decisions collective as a government, as business, about the lives of human beings. And we make decisions that are not in the interest of the human beings that we have rendered into numbers, but we make those decisions in the benefit of those people who are making money. And the fact that there are solutions to the Irish problem that Swift is seeing, that others are seeing. Now, remember, Swift really is misanthropic. He does not like people. So when Swift is pushed to talk about this, you know it's bad. You know it's bad. He has reasons, much less radical solutions to these problems, which is what makes the satire so dark, is you would go and use the most taboo thing in European thought. Every single sin in the Christian world is forgivable. Forget the Christian world. Every single sin in the classical world, the classical gods who are not known for mercy or leniency, can forgive just about anything, including matricide, patricide, infanticide, killing your husband. These things are all potentially forgivable, except cannibalism. When you read the Greek myths, cannibalism is the one that always brings down the ire of the gods. I think they're a bit sensitive given what Saturn did to them, what Kronos did to them, eating them. They didn't like being eaten. Cannibalism is always punished. There is never any forgiveness for cannibalism. Cannibalism in the Christian world was used as an excuse to enslave people. If you had a people that you wished to enslave, the first thing that you did was establish that they were cannibals. Because if they were cannibals, they were not open to Christian conversion. Because in encountering a new people, they were under a moral obligation to attempt to convert the peoples that they encountered to Christianity. The one thing that would prevent an ability to convert them to Christianity was cannibalism. Human sacrifice was up there, but cannibalism. So you had to absolutely stress that they were cannibals. There are a lot more cannibals in the world than there actually are, according to early modern Europeans, because everyone, coincidentally, you have dark skin, we want to make you a slave, you're a cannibal. Who would have thought? Cannibalism is this massive taboo. It is so huge a taboo. So to go and say, well, you're stripping everything else out of the ocean, why not eat them? Why not eat them? And then couching this massive taboo in rational thought is just what makes this so biting. Why not just cannibalize the Irish? Why not eat them? And I mean, it's an argument that this is still powerful. This text is nearly 300 years old. It's 1729. It is now 2023. It is nearly 300 years old, and it is still powerful. The shock of cannibalism is just, that is a taboo we don't cross. You don't do that. You want to create a taboo. There is nothing has the same taboo as cannibalism. It is always considered just beyond what is acceptable. So it is still the major taboo, nearly 300 years later. Now, I know actual cannibalism, ritual cannibalism, funerary cannibalism are all genuine cultural practices that have existed, and I'm not talking about that in a judgmental way, but cannibalism in this way that Swift is talking about is sort of up there with the why do we find the Donner Party so horrific? Because they ate each other. Okay, they waited for each other. They didn't murder each other to do so, but they ate each other. Why do we still talk about the cannibal convict down in Tasmania? Because he ate. They escaped and they ate each other, and then he escaped again with the intention of eating the people he escaped with. So it's always sort of in the, you want to create a monster, create a cannibal. Hannibal Lecter, cannibal. It's going to be the most taboo thing. And so he couches the most taboo thing in European thought then and now. And then he puts it in rationalist economic language. And this is the power of this text. It is just, you read it and you're going, and then, and it all sounds perfectly rational, and then it's like, they're talking about eating babies. And you know this going into it, and yet the skill as a writer is that he can drag you in and make this case. And it's not, it's once he's gone right into the nuts and bolts and the rational ideas behind it and the economic ideas behind it. And so he's relying on your inherent abhorrence to think, no, that's a step too far. Maybe we ought to just tax the absentee landowners. All of a sudden, these outrageous solutions don't look quite so outrageous anymore. So that's a modest proposal. Now, I'm actually going to be here more frequently with smaller things because Hatter has taken a sabbatical. Now, they know I do big books. But in the interest of supporting, because let's be frank, Her Infernal Majesty isn't cranking up her volume of things. She does things however she likes. Janice is too stoned. Laura and Ottoline already take on extra when they have to. So I guess it falls to me. Anyway, what we're going to be doing is some smaller things. Next time I'm here, we're going to be looking at Alexander Pope, and I am going to be bringing you his Peri Balthus, or Sinking into Poetry. So I will be bringing you a Pope essay next time, Peri Balthus. So if you want to read that in time, please do. And until we meet again, farewell. If you would like to support this channel, come across to the Black Cockie Press website, www.blackcockiepress.com.au, where you will find books and other writing services to help with your writing.